rules of life. So, what are those three simple rules? First of all, love always needs action. It is easy to say that you love someone, but then it needs some proof. It needs some action to go with it. It's very easy these days, of course, to tell someone that you love them. And this often happens in marriages and in family dynamics and just, general relationships. People often say, "Hey, I love you. I think you're a wonderful person." But then it comes down to actual action. Now, of course, we're told in Matthew chapter 22, verse number 37 to 40, to love the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love our neighbor as ourselves. Now, it's interesting that God shows us love, but God showed us love in a very practical way. John 3:16 says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life." You and I have had ample proof of God's love. Now, in turn, as we are responding to the love that we've been given, what happens is we get healed. Now, I want to be very honest. In human relationships, there is always the possibility of being hurt. There's always the possibility of being wrong or offended. And I remember listening to Jordan Peterson one time. He was talking with this British talk show host, and he said, when you're really involved in a fruitful discussion, something that needs to be discussed, the possibility of offense goes down to almost zero because it's important and you want to express yourself. Well, of course, the best way to do it is walking in love. Remember, it was Paul who said, "Love is patient and love is kind." So treat people the way that you would want to be treated. And remember, love needs action. It's something that positively proves that you love them. You can say to your spouse or to a friend, "Hey, I love you." Sooner or later, you're going to have to sit down and you're going to have to actually prove it. Why? Because actions speak louder than words. So that's the first thing I want to leave with you. Secondly, trust needs proof. Simple. When you say that you're going to trust someone, well, you got to prove it. And it's the same way, we're called to be people who are transparent, people who are truthful, people that are honest, and also as well, we need to be, caring, but we need to show that we are trustworthy. And the only way that you can show that you're trustworthy is to actually be trustworthy. It seems rather simple, but not really, because today, when we look around the world, we see lack of trust. I mean, yesterday, for example, was the so-called Liberation Day, where the President of the United States basically slapped every single country in the world with a 10% tariff. Now, you got to admit one thing, he was being totally fair to everybody around the world. But did you also know that he slapped tariffs on the McDonald Islands and the also as well the Hearn Islands? You say, well, yeah, okay. The only problem is they're the only inhabitants of those particular islands are penguins. So he better be careful, because if you've ever seen the Penguin movie, you know that there's something coming. But you listen, trust needs proof. You got to prove that you actually trust. You see, what we're talking about here today is activity, demonstration, exhibition. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about walking the walk and also walking the talk. That's what we're talking about today. We're talking about the fact that you got to have some follow through. That's what we're talking about. You've got to show that you are a person who walks in love. You got to show that you're a person who can be trusted. And the only way that you can be trusted is, of course, by doing something that is trustworthy. A perfect example is if someone shares with you some personal information, don't share it with anyone else, okay? Because they have entrusted you with that information. And if you tell somebody else and they find out, they're not going to share any more information with you. It would be ridiculous to do something. Live your life so well that the town gossip would actually vouch for you. That's one of my favorite sayings. It's one of my own. And the simple fact is, we need to show love by what we do, and trust needs proof. And sorry also needs change. Now, many times I've had discussions with people and they've said, well, I'm sorry. And then they don't change. You see, sorry needs to, of course, have action, and it needs to show change. You just can't say, hey, I'm sorry. There was one friend of mine whose name was Jim. He says it's easier to ask for forgiveness than to actually, ask for, change. And so it's easy for us to say that we're sorry. And many times people say, well, I'm sorry, but, or I'm sorry if. And what they're doing is basically they're saying, well, I'm sorry, but if I had a chance, I'd do it again. That's what we call worldly sorrow. Basically, you're sorry that you got caught, not sorry that you did what you did. Well, sorry means change. Years ago, I had a friend, his name was Ben Siepert. And Ben was teaching us in our church. And he said, listen, sorry means sorry. No explanation. You're sorry for what you did. Not that you do it again, but you value the person that you are saying you're sorry, and you want to restore the relationship. You want to reconcile the relationship. You don't say sorry if you're not sorry, basically. All right. You say you're sorry and then you change. That's what it means. So the simple rules that I'm expounding to you today is this: love needs action. Trust needs proof. Sorry needs change. Listen, it is all about love. Love does all of those things, okay? Love is patient. Love is kind. Love basically shows. Love trusts. Love changes. That's what we do. And if we're not willing to do it, then don't live by these rules. But these are wonderful rules to follow in your life. And that's my exhortation for you today. My name is Robert Dean Steele. If you like what you've been hearing and seeing, press the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel.